Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, no arrest warrant for Senator Antonio Trillanes, at least for now.
This is a new thing, so it requires study. Hindi naman yan something that you just rule on overnight.
But the soldier turned lawmaker wants to bring the battle to the Supreme Court.
Alam nyo, pride na lang yung umiiral sa kanila, but addition kapalpakan. I don't expect them to apologize. I'm not even asking for one.
The government stands firm on its decision to void his amnesty.
So if he wants to file cases, let him file a case.
But can it withstand legal scrutiny? Integrated Bar of the Philippines President Abdiel Fajardo joins us live. And later, a doctor thinks there's another hidden message in the world-famous Mona Lisa painting. That's for today's In Focus. Thank you for joining us. Sitting in for Pinky Webb, I'm Cherry Mercado. Senator Antonio Trillanes is taking his battle to the Supreme Court after President Duterte nullified the amnesty granted to him by President Aquino back in 2011. Let's go back to the story RCN Arcangel reports.
It was a stern warning from a former military rebel. In a press conference today, Senator Antonio Trillanes says he can stop the military from rebelling against the commander-in-chief, and it's a different story if President Rodrigo Duterte declares a revolutionary government.
Alam nyo, hindi ko naman hawak yung future, ano? I don't know. Kasi kung mag-declare siya ng revolutionary government, then tapos na to. Di ba? Wala na tayong demokrasya. Then the gloves are off.
Trillanes urges military officials to review the law after they warned of a looming court-martial against him. The senator says it's absurd for him to face a military trial since he's been a civilian since 2007 when he filed his certificate of candidacy to run for the Senate. Trillanes believes the idea of a court-martial is just the armed forces' way of saving face because the presidential proclamation voiding the amnesty given to him in 2011 is baseless.
Alam nyo, pride na lang yung umiiral sa kanila, but sa akin, swallow your pride, admit your mistake, admit your kapalpakan, di ba? I don't expect them to apologize. I'm not even asking for one, but mag-step back na kayo, stand down at mali kayo. Sa akin, isipin nyo lang, si Mr. Duterte, saglit na lang yan. Please do not do anything illegal or unconstitutional. I am appealing to them. Alam nila kung ganong, gano'ng ka-absurd yan.
Trillanes showed orders from two Makati courts proving that the rebellion and coup d'etat charges against him were dismissed in September 2011 as a result of the amnesty given to him by then-President Benigno Aquino III. The senator insists he can't be arrested since he has no pending criminal case.
It was forgiven and it was forgotten. Yan ang amnesty. Kumaga, there's no crime to speak of kasi it was extinguished.
Despite taking part in two failed coup attempts during the Arroyo administration, Trillanes is not keen on resorting to extra legal means to prevent his arrest. He plans to question Presidential Proclamation No. 572 before the Supreme Court. Trillanes remains in the Senate following the advice of his lawyers and the Senate leadership. The senator says his move to question Mr. Duterte's order for his arrest may be jeopardized if he steps outside the Senate premises, even if there's no arrest warrant yet against him. Cian Arcangel, CNN, Philippines.
The Defense Department insists Senator Trillanes may still be court-martialed. That's despite the senator's claims that it is absurd for him to face a military trial since he's been a civilian since 2007. That's when he filed his certificate of candidacy to run for the Senate. Our George Cahilas tells us more.
The Defense Department clarifies there's no need to reinstate Senator Antonio Trillanes in the military just to try him under court-martial. Now, Attorney Patrick Rubin of the Internal Audit Service of the DND says that the alleged violations of Senator Trillanes to the Articles of War were committed when he was still a Marine. That means the court-martial has a jurisdiction over him. Now, the Defense Department adds even if Trillanes ran for office in 2007, which was in effect already a form of resignation from the military, his case has remained active.
The acts for which he was charged happened while he was in active service. So although he is a civilian now, the jurisdiction of the court-martial was acquired while he was an active serviceman or an active officer of the armed forces.
When the senator was given amnesty in 2011, the DND says Trillanes' conduct unbecoming of a gentleman case before the court-martial was just suspended. And even if it was dismissed on the basis of the 2011 amnesty, it been rendered void because of President Duterte's proclamation 572.
We have to understand that article of war violations, they cannot be tried in a civilian court. Number one yun. And a court-martial is the only venue wherein such offenses can be tried.
The Defense Department says it is still looking for the documents Senator Trillanes submitted for his application for amnesty in 2011. They also clarified that the armed forces did not say in the certification it issued to the Office of the Solicitor General that there is no document submitted pertaining to Trillanes' amnesty application.
The certification issued by that office in J1 simply stated that they could not locate the documents.
The Armed Forces has already ordered the reconstitution of the court-martial, and they're continuously coordinating with the Senate in relation to the custody of the senator. The PNP assures their officers in the Senate will not arrest Senator Antonio Trillanes unless there's an order from the court. CIDG officers are only positioned so they may carry out the arrest smoothly in case the court issues a warrant. But for now, the police are just there to assist the armed forces to ensure lawful and orderly conduct of any orders. George Hiles, CNN Philippines.
Let's now go straight to the source of the story, Integrated Bar of the Philippines President Abdiel Fajardo. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, ma'am. I'm sorry I can't be with you there today.
It's okay. You're still with us via video call. Your personal thoughts, or maybe the IBP already has a stand on this voiding of the amnesty on Senator Trillanes?
Well, I have said publicly that this appears to be an executive somehow some kind of an intrusion into judicial power. Because if this case has already been dismissed by a court of law, namely the Regional Trial Court of Makati. And as we are speaking now, technically there is no pending case versus Trillanes, etc. in the Makati RTC. This has been dismissed and as the status of a dismissal for the past 8 years.
So there seems to be, again, no, with any legal questions, there seem to be loopholes, and the other side, no, the military is saying otherwise. They say he has to be. There are two things, no. He has to be reinstated back as an officer, and then be court-martialed. But then there's also another faction that's saying that he doesn't even need to be reinstated as an officer and still be tried for these crimes that he supposedly committed. And if the amnesty is voided, then the cases are not dismissed.
Well, there are two things there. As far as the military tribunal is concerned, we must remember that when Senator Trillanes filed his certificate of candidacy for senator, legally he lost already his standing as an employee of the armed force. This applies to almost all civil service offices. Once you file a certificate of candidacy to run for public office, you are considered resigned from your regular office.
So dito nga nagkakano, no? Kasi even with the arrest order, no, if this proclamation 572, na mismong doon sa proclamation, Attorney Fajardo, no, sinasabi doon na arestuhin na, no, nag-uutos mismo yung proklamasyon. There's a paragraph there that that says the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the Philippine National Police are ordered to employ all lawful means to apprehend former Lieutenant Sergeant Antonio Trillanes so that he can be recommitted to the detention facility. So ito mismo may order pero hindi nila maaresto unang-una because the AFP cannot arrest a civilian. And the PNP-CIDG naman na nakaabang dun mismo sa Senado, hindi rin siya maaresto dahil walang warrant of arrest.
Yes, correct. As far as the civilian warrant of arrest is concerned, there is no warrant of arrest because when the case was dismissed, there was no pending information, criminal information anymore before the regional trial court. Therefore, the trial court could not act on anything, not even an alias warrant, because the status of the case is that it is dismissed. So, you know, if you know criminal procedure, before a warrant of arrest can issue, the prosecution must show probable cause that the accused has committed the offense. And that was issued a long time ago when it was shown by the prosecution that there was probable cause to charge Trillanes, etc. with rebellion and coup d'etat.
So sa tingin nyo, Attorney Fajardo, sa tingin nyo,
Yes,
hindi bibigyan ng arrest warrant ng korte nito ni Judge Soriano? Sa tingin nyo, hindi niya maaprubahan itong request ng Department of Justice na mag-issue ng warrant of arrest para kay Senator Trillanes?
Well, the first question there is that does the RTC still have jurisdiction, no, to entertain anything from anybody?
So pwedeng yun ang sabihin ni Judge Soriano, I don't have jurisdiction on this anymore. That's a possibility?
Yes, because how can you possibly reverse yourself? Remember, when the court dismissed this 7 years ago, it was the same RTC that dismissed it, only a different judge. So you cannot reverse a final ruling of a co-equal judge. Only a higher court can reverse, review, modify, etc. the orders of a trial court judge.
So ibig sabihin, kung hindi sila maaprubahan, no, sabihin ni Judge Soriano, this is one scenario, this is not anymore under us, no, dahil nga sabi mo, hindi pwedeng i-reverse yung decision din ng parehong korte, no. So ibig sabihin, ang DOJ pupunta sa Korte Suprema, pwedeng dun siya humingi ng warrant of arrest?
Well, if the warrant of arrest as prayed for by the prosecution is denied by the trial court judge, then necessarily they will have to go up to a higher court, not necessarily the Supreme Court. It's possible they can go up to the Court of Appeals to say that the trial court made an error in denying the request for a warrant of arrest.
Okay, Attorney Fajardo, we will ask you when we come back, no, kung ano sa tingin nyo magiging laman nitong temporary restraining order, nitong apila ni Senador Trillanes na i-file niya today. No? We're expecting that at 10 o'clock in the morning when we come back. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Still to come, what could be the legal impact of the nullification of the amnesty of Senator Trillanes? IBP President Abdiel Fajardo will still be with us after the break. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Integrated Bar of the Philippines President Abdiel Fajardo, and we're still talking about the case of Senator Antonio Trillanes. Attorney Fajardo, let's first define amnesty. Who can be given amnesty? And if the president can give this, can he also take it back, like what he did? No, can he just void it without concurrence of Congress?
This may take a bit, no. When you commit an offense, normally you violate criminal law. So, for instance, in rebellion and coup d'etat, they are expressly prohibited under the revised penal code and a special law disallowing coup d'etat. So, no one can escape the clutches of the law. However, there are instances when the government sees the need to suspend the application of a law in order to effect a certain policy. For instance, if you're coming from a war and many Filipinos fought and committed crimes that are normally punishable under the revised penal code, like murder, physical injuries, etc. In order for the government to buy peace and to bring back these people, these guerrillas, back into the folds of the law, they extend an amnesty to forget about the crimes. And for this not to be abused as a power of the president, the Congress of the Philippines needs to concur to it or to agree to it.
So ganito
that
yung nangyari
somehow-
when this was given to the group of Senator Trillanes. Ngayon,
Yes.
ngayong ibo-void
Opo.
ng presidente, hindi nakalagay sa konstitusyon doon na kailangan din ng concurrence ng Congress. Tama po ba?
Correct.
Or is it understood na dapat meron
Correct.
ding concurrence ng Congress?
If something is not spelled out in the Constitution, if the Constitution does not give a power respecting the revocation, for instance, of an amnesty, shouldn't we interpret it to mean that there is no such power? Because remember, if an amnesty is granted and the court approves the application or the application of the amnesty law with respect to a particular criminal, that's the end of it. The crime is forgotten, the accused is absolved, and therefore it would appear that the amnesty application has become irrevocable.
Please clarify, no power to void?
Yes. I think we should have explored that possibility. That's why it's important that the Supreme Court has to come into this in order to interpret this. Remember, the same thing happened with the withdrawal of the Philippines from the International
ICC,
Criminal
correct.
Court. It was the president, by his lonesome, without Senate concurrence, who withdrew the Philippine state from the International Criminal Court.
Okay. In the meantime, Attorney Fajardo, while this is being reviewed, halimbawa, no, kailangan din to ng desisyon ng Korte Suprema, kailangan din magdesisyon ng RTC kung magbibigay sila ng court warrant of arrest, no? What happens to Senator Trillanes? If you were his lawyer, what will you advise him? He's staying now in the Senate para hindi siya ma-arresto, no? He's within the protection of the Senate grounds, no? What would be your advice to him?
Well, my advice as a defense counsel would be to say unless a civilian court has issued a warrant of arrest against me, there is no reason why I should yield myself. And the Senate, as an independent branch of government, should assert this independence and protect the senator from an arrest without a warrant, because arrest without a warrant requires a different set of requisites altogether.
So isa pa yan, ano, attorney, let's go there, no? Arrest without a warrant. Meron ng dalawang lawmakers na nagsabi na this could be an impeachable act kung hulihin, no, o i-apprehend si Senator Trillanes using just the proclamation. They could actually file an impeachment versus the president. Do you agree to this one?
I cannot discuss this at this time. I think the first step would be to go to the Supreme Court and secure a declaration that this is unconstitutional. Should that happen, the next question would be, is that a culpable violation of the Constitution? That's when we should discuss already whether or not this is in fact an impeachable offense. But the first step, of course, is for the senator, if I am his counsel, to go up to the Supreme Court. Well, he's doing it now, as you said, and hopefully he can get a ruling there that would say that the proclamation was unwarranted and illegal and unconstitutional.
So ito yung tingin mong magiging laman ng kanyang TRO ngayon, ano, to declare this proclamation unconstitutional. On the grounds that, ano nga ulit ang grounds, attorney?
Well, ground na unang-una nakikita ko dyan ay this is an intrusion by the executive department into what is purely judicial power. If you recall, the rulings have been made, the decision has been rendered dismissing the case, saying that in effect that judicially this is no longer a pending case. So for the executive department to in effect issue a warrant of arrest, because this is what it is.
Okay, so halimbawa, attorney,
yeah.
nasa Supreme Court na, nag-file na which is we are expecting in a few minutes or hours from now, no? Mag-file na si Senator Trillanes sa Korte Suprema asking to declare this move unconstitutional and have his freedom, no, without conditions. Yung composition ngayon ng Supreme Court, ano naman ang basa mo dito? We have a new Chief Justice, no, who was also a controversial choice. There were also questions about the length of her stay and of course her leanings, no? May mga question na ganyan. And the others, no? May mga nangyari before this. There was a co-warranto. What is your take, or how do you read now the composition of the Supreme Court when it comes to deciding on this case on Senator Trillanes?
Well, I would not want to speculate on the leanings of the justices of the Supreme Court. No, what I can say is that I am hopeful that judicial independence can be asserted and protected in this case, because
In the yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead, attorney.
Because this is a very important case. I believe that the Supreme Court can finally set parameters and guidelines so that future actions can also be prevented if the effect would be to usurp judicial power.
Has there ever been a precedent of this kind of a case?
Hello?
Yes. Can you hear me, Attorney Fajardo?
Yes, ma'am.
Meron na bang ganitong kaso dati? May precedent ba ito?
Wala po tayong maalalang precedent po ito. This is the first time, and in fact, what I can observe is that, as I said, the government seems to be trailblazing jurisprudence, no, trying to test certain limits of the law in order to advance certain policies. So I think it will be helpful not only to the camp of Senator Trillanes, but also to the government. If the Supreme Court finally decides on this, or tries to discuss parameters, intent of the lawmakers, etc., or the constitution drafters, so that we can finally say whether or not the president needs to consult Congress, or whether or not there is no such power to revoke an amnesty already granted.
Sa tingin mo ba, may nababasa ba kayong pattern, no? Dun sa nangyari, halimbawa sa co-warranto, you said this government seems to be testing the limits of the law. With the ICC, for example, with what happened to maybe even Senator De Lima and in the co-warranto case of former Chief Justice Sereno, and then this one.
Yeah, of course, every executive department, no matter what the administration, would want to push executive agenda. But of course, in this case, we're seeing increasing adventurism, no, in the legal framework of the Philippines. So that's why we are praying for judicial wisdom. And so that it can protect its turf if there are really intrusions into its powers.
Attorney Abdiel Fajardo, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Still to come, she has one of the world's perfect smiles. But could there be an underlying medical condition behind Mona Lisa's smile? That's for today's In Focus.